You good, Robert?
Okay. Everybody.
Y'all all good?
Yeah, we're ready.
Around 6 o'clock this evening, the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office was in conjunction with the U.S. Marshal Service, their Fugitive Task Force unit. They approached a hotel room, which you can see behind us, in search of an individual who was wanted out of a northeastern United States state. That individual was wanted for an aggravated sexual battery of a child under the age of 15 years of age. My understanding is this individual also had some previous criminal issues in his background that he was still on probation for. They had the information that they had led this individual from that northern state down the southern southeastern coast into St. Johns County. Once here, they approached the hotel room that they had found that he was currently staying at. They verified some different information through their investigative techniques, which led them to a particular hotel room. They approached that door and attempted to get the individual to come out. When he exited the room, he made some actions which again are being investigated at this point in time. Those actions that he took caused multiple individuals involved in the task force and deputies with the Sheriff's Office who were accompanying them to fire simultaneously on this individual. Fire rescue was immediately called to tend to his injuries from that event. They were unfortunately unable to resuscitate that individual here at the scene, and so he is deceased here. We have our major crimes unit on scene. They'll be conducting the investigation on this particular event. We're also working in conjunction with the U.S. Marshal Service throughout this whole event. You know, that kind of rounds out where we're at currently. Again, this individual was wanted out of a northeastern state here in the United States for a aggravated sexual battery on a child under the age of 15, and unfortunately he did not surrender in a manner which led these individuals to be able to take him into custody without further event.
Do you have the exact state where he was wanted
out of? I do. We're not releasing that at this point in time. Obviously, if I release the state with the information that I've already provided for you, that would allow you to immediately notify those jurisdictions, and quite frankly, we've not notified his next of kin yet, so that'll be something that we will release at a later time, so certainly that will come out. But again, there's some background information that we've got going on. There's some people we need to contact, regardless of what this individual did. You know, many times we reach out to those families. Many of these families certainly we want to give them the respect to let them know ourselves what has occurred here without them hearing about it on the news first.
Was he shot inside the hotel room?
He was inside and outside. It was all in close proximity to the door.
What did he do to make them shoot? Does he have?
Well, that's what's going to be investigated, is what his actions were that caused the individuals to shoot. But again, what's going on behind that scene right now, we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves. We're not going to get into speculation and conjecture. We're going to let the investigators behind us do what they do. That will take all night long, I assure you. That will go well into the morning and maybe even to when the sun comes up. So we're going to let these guys do their jobs behind us, and then we will certainly, as we always do, release information to the public that keeps them aware of what's going on here.
How long have you been here at the motel?
Well, I don't know the exact amount of time. I haven't talked with the Marshal Service and the task force to what background information they have, but suffice it to say, investigative techniques that they use led them to this hotel. You know, we've all watched those crime drama series. We know that there's ways that we can locate people. That is, in fact, in some level of information what occurred here. They knew that the individual was here. They knew what kind of vehicle he was driving. They confirmed some information, and then, of course, approached the front door to that hotel room.
Does he have any ties here at all?
No ties here in the Florida area that we're aware of. There was some background information that there were ties in other parts of the country, but that's not where he, of course, was located. He was located here in St. Johns County, and unfortunately, the actions that he took caused, again, multiple members of this task force to fire upon him.
So multiple people shot. How many times was he shot?
I don't know. That'll be all part of the investigation. So you're getting into the finite minutia, if you will, of the investigation, which hasn't been conducted yet. So again, there won't be a lot of information we'll be able to convey at this point in time.
Did investigators find a gun inside the hotel?
Well, again, we won't be commenting on that because we're going to have a search warrant that has to be obtained before we get into the hotel room, because we don't know what fruits of the crime may or may not exist in there from the previous crimes that he's wanted for or for anything that occurred here tonight. So again, everyone understands this. We have a legal process, so we try to share as much information with the public as we can, and you guys are a great help in helping us get that information out. But we always do, if you will, tap the brakes on how much information we put out so that we can get a thorough investigation completed first, because as you well know, these types of issues go on for some period of time, and so we have to ensure that everything we do is step by step, and part of that is withholding a certain amount of information on the investigation so that we know we have the answers before we start conjecturing and speculating what those answers might be.
Were any of the officers injured?
No, none of the officers were injured.
Was the suspect alone, or was he traveling?
My understanding is he is alone. I don't know of anybody else who's being questioned, detained, or in custody.
Based on his criminal background, do you know if he's been known to be violent and carry weapons in the past?
Well, what I can tell you is criminal backgrounds are protected under federal law, so what I know about his criminal past I cannot share. I can only tell you what he was actively wanted for, and again, that was an aggravated sexual battery on a child under the age of 15.
The officers that shot, multiple agencies?
There are members of different agencies involved in the shooting, yes.
How many officers?
Well, I'm not going to get into all, again, that's the minutia questions, great questions by the way, but the officers, who they are, where they're from, and all that will come out at a later time. You also have federal and local jurisdictions that have different rules to follow on the releasing of names, and so some of that may be protected under federal law where we may have to disclose certain information. Again, we'll parse through that. That's all part of the minutia that we're going to work through over the next couple of days.
Will you be having another briefing tonight?
Probably not another briefing tonight. I don't know that there's going to be any new information to share. Again, no threat to the public at this point in time. Everything is settled. Everything is secured here at the scene. We're going to maintain it that way throughout the night, I'm sure, and certainly into the morning hours.
Who's the lead agency in the investigation?
I'm sorry?
Is St. Johns County the lead agency or the federal agency?
Yes, St. Johns County's taking the lead on the shooting investigation here at the site. We're, again, working in conjunction with the Marshal Service, and again, different rules, different protocols from federal to local. We're gonna march through that in the appropriate manner, and we'll release what we can as soon as we can.
What's going on inside of the hotel right now?
Well, again, there's crime scene technicians here, so there'll be a great deal of forensic evidence that's examined. Any type of fruits of the crime I've already mentioned. What's in the room, does it lead back to this investigation or case that's occurred up north? And we'll work with those authorities as well, because of course all of this started with another criminal activity allegation from a different jurisdiction in another state with different laws. So these things can become very complex, different rules, different protocols, but we're going to follow our protocols here in order to march through this entire process in an effective manner.
How are the people that are staying at this motel, how are they being handled right now?
Well, yeah, obviously, if any of them are shaken, we have victim advocates at the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office. We will deploy them to anybody if they feel they need any kind of counseling, conversations, support in any way. As far as I know, that's not been the case up to this point in time, but certainly we're available for anybody who might need us in that regard.
But they can stay here tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we have a very small area of the parking lot that we have secured and around that hotel room. And of course, where our agents and deputies' cars are at, as well as the suspect's car. So all that'll be contained. There won't be anybody driving in and out of the parking lot through that area. Certainly, we'll reroute those individuals who are staying at the hotel so that they're not inconvenienced in this in any way, to the limit what we can. So
a lot of witnesses?
Again, witnesses, what the statements are, that's what these investigators are going to be doing throughout the night tonight. And again, that's a multi-hour process. Again, I've said this in the past, TV shows wrap all this up in about 35 minutes, but the reality of the world we live in is this is probably a week-long process to get to some of the basics. We have individuals, we have laws about the officers' rights that were involved in this, when they can be talked to, so we haven't even gotten to that point yet to find out what they saw, what occurred, and so all that has to be done before we get to sharing any more information, because we just simply don't do that in any kind of critical event like this.
Are you able to say what floor this happened on?
I believe it was the second floor. I have not been up to that particular scene. I've seen it from afar like you have. I have not walked up into that past the yellow tape myself. Okay. Thank you all very much. We appreciate you helping us out. Thank you.